Thank you for joining us again on the Mount Mercy Sports Podcast. Today we have head coach for our football team, Coach M.D. Daniels, joined by my cohort, Nate Jones, co-host, Caleb Rutherford as always. Thanks for joining us today, M.D.
No, I'm excited. This is my first time being on camera like this, so I'm really excited. So, no, thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about Mount Mercy football.
For sure.
So
if you just want to introduce yourself a little bit, maybe a little history of where you've been, what made you come to Iowa, and yeah.
Okay, so I'm originally from a little small town outside of Houston, Texas, Lake Jackson, Texas. If I was to compare it, it would be like if I was living in Linn-Mar or Marion, so it's like a subdivision of a city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So born and raised there, played college football for Hal Mumme out in West Texas. Hal Mumme created this, what we know now as this spread air raid offense. So he was my college coach for 4 years. And during my time in college, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I was really good with numbers, so I got my degree in math education. So I'm going to go to my high school and I'm going to be head coach one day. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Literally the day I graduate, I'm going back home. Coach Mumme calls me and was like, "Hey, MD, our DB coach had just left." And he's like, "Hey, we got an opening." And Kendall, who was our defense coordinator, was like, "Hey, we want you to come be our DB's coach. We're going to pay you $32,000. I'm like, $32,000? I'm like, I'm fresh out of college. And so I was like, "Okay, well, Coach, when do you need me there?" He's like, well, if you can be here by tomorrow, that'd be great. I was like, "Coach, I'm literally an hour from Houston." He's like, "Well, the job is yours if you can be here tomorrow." So me and my dad, we flipped the Huey. We tracked back 6 hours to Abilene. I was there at McMurray University, small Division II school for 6 seasons. And so obviously that was my alma mater. I was there from 2008 to 2018. So as a player and a coach, that's a long time of my life. And at the end of 2018, our head coach resigned, and they brought in a new coach, which he brought in his own staff, had to go look for employment elsewhere. Well, Coach Mumme, doing his thing, he made a phone call for me. Al Wesleyan in Mount Pleasant, I was looking for a D coordinator. So he's like, "Hey, MD, they're looking for a D coordinator. I want to help you out. I'll make a phone call for you." It's cool. So long story short, I get the job. I come up here to Iowa at the end of July of 2019, and our head coach gets let go 2 months in. So now you're talking about, hey, I just moved here from Texas, living in a place that I'm not very familiar with, and I'm kind of in one of these things like, man, am I going to have to go back to Texas? I'm just now starting my, my real coaching journey part. Well, I get asked to interview for the head coaching job. I was one of 4 guys that ended up making it to campus, and me, I'm a people person. I can talk with anybody, and just being myself, I'm very energetic, and ended up getting a job. Well, nobody told me COVID was going to happen 2 months later. So I'm a first-year head coach. I'm dealing with COVID, and that was a really scary time for obviously the nation, but for my football program that I'm trying to create, because a lot of kids were trying to figure out, am I staying here at Iowa? Am I going home? And what is happening? So I inherited a team that had 28 student athletes. Well, and that was February of 2020. By that fall, we had 135 guys report to campus. So the staff that I put together obviously did a remarkable job recruiting, being our first year of Division III. So we're navigating through COVID. 2021, we get to play our actual season, because they did it in the spring that year. So we play 3 games, and we go 1-1-1. So we tied 1, lost 1, won 1. And the game we lost by 3. So it's the same team that beat us by 30 the year before, we lost. So we got better, right? And at the end of that season, or that little 3-game season, our administration said, "Hey, Coach Daniels, we're going NAI. I need you to recruit scholarship kids for the fall of 21. Well, that gave me April, May, June, like 4 months. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, like we'll do our best. Like we'll do everything we can, and did that. So transition from Division III to NAI, I ended up doing that for the 21 and 22 season, and then Iowa wasn't closed down. Spring of 23, which was hard for myself and my family because my wife was 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So she was 7 months pregnant. They said, Coach, you're gonna lose your insurance. You're not gonna get paid. So we both lost our jobs, and it was a very hard time trying to transition to figure out what's next. I've been fortunate to have some good coaches in my corner that reached out and was like, hey, we have this position or this position open, this position open. And a good friend of mine, Mike Jasper, did something that a lot of coaches won't do. I didn't have to interview, hired me on the spot, got my wife a job on the spot, had us a campus apartment the day we got there. So it's like he did all those things without even knowing me. He knew it was like a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
So he really went out on a limb for us, and we got there, and then the next 2 years there at Bethel was remarkable. I mean, we went 18-4 in 2 years.
Wow.
So we did really, really good. I mean, making the playoffs, conference championship, and I get to the point where I'm in a co-coordinator role. I'm like, well, I'm ready to be a head coach again, and our head coach, Mike Jasper, was like, dude, you're ready to get back. Like, this was just for a short time. Like, go do your thing. And so when I saw Mount Mercy was going to start up football, I was like, man, I got some unfinished business in Iowa. Because we had got better at Iowa Wesleyan. The last year there, we lost 4 games by 3 points or less. So it's like, you're talking about a team that historically hadn't been good, was now trajectorying upwards. And so I was like, man, this could be nice. So I applied late, like November, like middle of November. And I was like, man, let's just go all in and let's see what happens. So I ended up obviously doing the interview, getting invited to campus. I get to campus, I was like, I didn't even know Mount Mercy was here. I was like, I've been to Cedar Rapids so many times and didn't even know where Mount Mercy was. I've been to talked to Coach Staker, who's the head coach at Coe. Like I said, didn't even know Mount Mercy. And I get to campus, I was like, dang, this campus is nice. Like, it's 10 times better than the campus that I had at Iowa Wesleyan. And so just to see the facilities, Mr. Paul Gavin, our athletic director, his vision for athletics, like, all that was remarkable. So when I get a chance to obviously tell my wife about it, she was already on board because she still got friends in the area. She was like, well, if you get the job, I know I can just pick up where I left off. And, it's a bigger city. It's somewhere that we know we can grow as a family. And I come back to McKenzie, Tennessee, and Mr. Gavin calls me the next day. And so a lot of people don't know this, but I had a decision to make. My head coach that's at Bethel just got offered the Stetson job, which is FCS, and he wanted me to be his offensive coordinator. At the same time, I'm getting offered the Mount Mercy job. And he told me, he was like, look, you're meant to be a head coach. You're meant to lead young people. And he was like, if you take that job, he said, there will be some time down the line we'll get a chance to work again with each other. So to have his blessing to do that, I was like, okay, then I know this is meant for me. I accepted the job early December, and they were like, hey, you got to start January 6th. So I'm like, man, I got 3 weeks. I got to find a house. I got to sell a house. I got to do all this stuff to get ready, and everything just fell into place. So it's like, when those things happen, that lets me know that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Nothing was hard. The only thing that was hard is I got the U-Haul stuck the first day I was in Iowa. That was it. That was the only thing that was hard. But other than that, it's really been a blessing to start up the program, build it, but just to get back to doing what I know I'm really good at, and that's developing young people. So,
yeah,
nice.
Sorry, that was.
You're
really
good.
long.
You're good. That was good.
Great answer. Now you've been living in CR for a while. Do you have a favorite place to go out to eat? Do you have a good restaurant?
So listen, I would tell you this. So the last two places I lived at, Mount Pleasant, it's 8,000-9,000 people, so it's not very big. McKenzie, Tennessee was even smaller. It was like 5,000 people. In McKenzie, we had a Sonic and we had a McDonald's. That's it. We had some mom and pop places, but as far as like chain places.
Yeah.
So I will tell you this. I love food. Since we've been in Iowa, back in Iowa, here in Cedar Rapids, I try to go to a new place every time because there's so many food options.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask my wife, we eat Cane's, Chick-fil-A, probably every day it seems like, hey, can you go pick this up from Chick-fil-A? Can you go get Cane's for this? And she loves Mexican food. Obviously, I love Mexican food too, but we probably ate at least 6 or 7 different Mexican restaurants here in Cedar Rapids. We've tried a couple barbecue places that are really good. So it's like, I'm just taking it all in because when you lived in a small town for the last 5 years, your food options are so small. So it's like now you got all of this variety. And you got a Domino's, a Pizza Hut, a Little Caesars. It's like you have even variety. Casey's Pizza. Like you have variety where you don't have to just say, man, I got to go 20 minutes to pick up a Pizza Hut or Domino's. It's right down the road. So for us, the food options have been really, really good. Good Chinese food out here, which is really good because I love Chinese too. So I love food in general. I'm a foodie, man.
Hey,
I love it.
Preaching to the choir
Yeah.
as throwers. We love food, and I know your pain about come from a small town. I have to drive 30 minutes just for a gas station. So I get it. I get it.
For sure. So, no, I would tell you that, when you talk about like food, the best to me is, which is crazy because we didn't have a Casey's in McKenzie. We had to drive 10, 15 minutes to go to Casey's. But Casey's has some good food. Crazy to believe, like a gas station.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how much food they actually cook at Casey's. And, they do the breakfast burritos and all those things. And I'm like, I'm a big fan of Casey's. So anytime, shout out to Casey's. For sure. So.
Throughout your journey, going through the multiple different colleges and universities, as well as high schools, I'm sure you also are a big fan of other colleges like D1 as well as professional. Is there a coach, whether you've met and worked with or you would hope to meet one day, that you look up to and want to incorporate their style possibly?
There's a few coaches that, I've grown to learn over time. One coach that I think just, really, that I think I'm very similar to is Dabo Swinney in a sense of, he's a religious person and so am I, but he's all about his players, and people think like, oh, he's a player's coach, he's softer on his guys, but I don't think that's necessary. I think a player's coach is somebody that's not afraid to hold his players accountable while also developing the relationship that is needed to sustain a program or sustain a relationship long term. Where I've always been that guy that I'm really big on relationships. I don't need anything from you. All I want to know is that you're okay. Right? And that we can have a legit conversation about how your parents are doing, your grandparents are doing. Like, are you having, relationship issues? Like, that stuff to me is so more important than, hey, can you run a fade? Or can you throw a 60-yard bomb? Because at the end of the day, at some point, football will stop. I want to make sure that we have a lifelong relationship to where you can say, hey, Coach Daniels, me and my wife, we're finally having our first kid. We would love for you to come to our baby shower or our wedding. And those things mean what, and that is, to me, is from the research that I've done on Dabo and his program at Clemson and what he's built it up to. I think that's something that I'm very similar as. On the flip side of that, I think when you're talking about recruiting, right, I think I take little pieces from some of the bigger coaches, like how Nick Saban runs his organization and when he was at Alabama, and Kirby Smart and, James Franklin at Penn State. Just some of the research and videos that I've seen, they're very meticulous on how they do things. And I'm really like that. Like as far as, hey, I need to be organized. I need to home visit this kid. I need to call and check with the counselor. I need to call his parents. I need to make sure his girlfriend's on page with them coming to Mount Mercy. And I think a lot of coaches don't do that anymore. It's all social media transaction, or it's all like, let me give you one conversation, boom, here's an offer.
Yeah.
For us, it's, we might not offer a kid until, we didn't have 10, 15 conversations, and I've talked to their parents because I need their parents on board with what we're doing. And so those are some of the coaches that I kind of take bits and pieces from, but, there's so many good coaches out there, so it's like, it's really hard to just set your sights on one coach and try to be like that coach. But Dabo is probably one of the ones that, I'm more like, and he's not afraid of his faith and sharing his faith, and neither am I. And my players will know that as we grow here at Mount Mercy. So that's one thing I would probably say as a coach.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah.
So we've already got a lot of guys coming in.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to you to have some like local talent coming in, and what excites you about the guys coming in?
I tell everybody this that I talk to about recruiting and what we're trying to build here at Mount Mercy. It's, Eastern Iowa has to be Mustang country. There are some very, very, very phenomenal programs in Iowa. From NAI, you have Northwestern, Dordt, Morningside, Grandview. D3s, you have the Wartburgs and the Centrals and the Dubukes, and you have some really good football teams here in Iowa. But there's not many on this side of the state. There are a couple. We want to be able to run this side of the state, and so that we can become a perennial power in Eastern Iowa. So local kids is super important. When we got here in January, we were already behind the 8 ball with recruiting. So to have 25 to 28 Iowa kids coming in this fall is big for us. And we're only continuing to grow. Like I was saying earlier, we've already been to multiple high school practices in the last week, and it's, we're only going to continue to do that even next week when we're in camp. A lot of schools are having evening practices. Well, we're going to be at those practices too, because now these schools are starting to know who we are and what we're trying to build here at Mount Mercy and Cedar Rapids. So it's like we're going to continue to grow. And our main goal for this 2026 recruiting class, and if we bring in, let's say 60 newcomers, 40 will be from Iowa, homegrown, Eastern Iowa high school kids. And then we're going to try to go get 20 transfers, with a bulk of those trying to be from Iowa as well. That's one thing I learned from the first time here in Iowa. When I was at Iowa, I did it the opposite. We had a lot of out-of-state kids, a lot of kids from Florida, Texas, Georgia, California, and not many from Iowa. And that was mainly due to I didn't know Iowa. So now that I'm familiar with it, I'm familiar with the territory and the culture of Iowa and the Midwest, it's been a lot easier for us to go get those kids. Yeah. And so they love the vision we have for the program. Their parents love the staff makeup and how cohesive we are as a staff. And it's really been easier to sell. Now, obviously, we have a tall task ahead of us building this program. But I really believe that we are on the right track moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
What are some of the goals you have for this upcoming season? Though it is short and it's not going to be a regular style season, what are some of your goals with it, and how are you planning on developing the players to get them ready for the 2026 season?
So, as you know, like I said, my background is in education, right? And so when you're an educator or teacher, you got to have lesson plans, and you got to think 2-3 months ahead of time. And so I try to take that approach with our development piece. So we already have literally from August 10th, the time they get here, till November, every single day planned out. And what we're doing from the weight room to community service to team activities, like we have all those things planned out. And so for me, I'm really big on development, huge on development. I tell a lot of guys, you can tell a lot about a program and how they approach development, right? Because yes, X's and O's is important. Yes, getting out on the field is important. But how is those players developing in the weight room? How are they developing in the classroom? How are they developing spiritually and mentally? That's what I feel like our staff is really, really good at. And so when a player comes in, we create this whole profile for them, right? We share it only with that student athlete, and from benchmarks, from what their bench is, their 40 time, what's their neck size, what's their waist size, what's their bicep size. Okay, hey, how many community service hours have you received during the fall? Okay, how many Bible studies did you attend in the fall, or FCA meetings did you? So we track all those things so that when we meet with those guys at the end to talk in November to talk about, hey, this is where we got to go in the spring of 2026. We can talk about areas they need to improve in, right? Because it's not just about, okay, are we getting bigger and stronger and faster? Are we maturing? Are we doing things that will allow us to grow mentally and maturity and spiritually to make sure that we are becoming better people? And so those are the things that we want to put in place, that we're putting in place so that we can be successful. But as far as a football standpoint, I'm treating it like a regular season. And we're going to practice 3 days a week hard.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking hard. And because our players need to know what it's going to look like come 2026. And our players that we have coming in, we have somewhere between 68 and 75 coming in this fall. They know that they're the foundational piece to our program, right? We want those guys to lay that foundation, buy into the culture we're going to build, and we need to be able to depend on them in 2026 because we don't want to have to depend on too many freshmen that can step in and say, okay, hey, we need to depend on that kid. Well, let's try to depend on the guys that we are going to develop over this next year, get them bigger, faster, stronger, more mature, more knowledgeable of the playbook and the community to where we can say, hey, we can roll this football out. And yeah, we may only be 18, 19, but we're going to be able to compete with the other programs because of the development. The problem that faces other programs is those freshmen usually don't get developed that way.
Yeah.
Hey, they're number 5, 6, 7 on the depth chart. Coach ain't thinking about number 5, 6, 7. He's thinking about 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Let's develop 1 and 2, and then when it's time to get 5, 6, and 7 ready, it's already too late. Right? We get that opportunity to train our guys year round. From August 10th all the way till May when those guys get ready to go home for the summer. So
Nice.
it's going to be a whirlwind.
Yeah. So building a roster from scratch, do you already have an idea of like, oh, this guy would be great in this position, or is it just a battle for every spot?
That's a hard one to answer. We have an idea of, okay, he's an outside receiver, he's a slot receiver, or he's a right guard, a left guard. But really, ultimately, and we'll talk about this again at our first team meeting, is some guys will get moved around because we feel like they might fit us better in certain positions. And I always tell guys this: I'm not gonna move you to a different position if it's gonna hurt you. Because that's not my job, is to hurt you. My job is to put you in the best position possible to succeed. Right? So you have some of those guys that are tweeners, like, they may have played offense and defense aligned in high school. Well, yeah, we may recruited you as a D lineman, but those first few practices, we feel like you're not D-line ready. Hey, baby, we need you to come help us on O-line. Right? Or if it's a receiver that, he doesn't really have the ball skills we need him to, but he's really aggressive. Well, he might be a safety, or he might be an outside linebacker. So some of those things we'll find out early, but that's what this year is for. Like I said, is developing and finding out what talent we do have. How do we get those guys better so that, in November, December, when we're talking about mid-year transfers and those things, like, now we know what guys we got to go get to kind of help that position room be better. And I'm really excited about the guys we have coming in, because a lot of the guys we have coming in were all district or all county or all state. So it's like we have some very talented guys. We just got to get that up out of them this first year and then continue to build, moving forward.
Nice.
Yeah. What is the key to keeping your players locked in throughout the year? I know you mentioned doing some community service as well as other team activities. Again, with this being a very unconventional style of a season, what are ways you can keep them locked in and ready for that 2026 season?
Yeah, so we're trying to be creative with, inter squad scrimmages, right? Oh, obviously open those to the public and doing some really good ones, big ones, especially during homecoming. We have a scrimmage against Grinnell College early August, which is good for us and for them because we open 2026 at Grinnell. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So we have a game against Grinnell. It'll be a familiar face. It'll be a team that's probably very similar to us as you. We're talking youth, right? Like there will be a young team, so will we, and it'll give us a good test of where we are as a program. And then we will go to Simpson College, which is another one of those teams that finished middle of the pack last year, to kind of see, okay, hey, how do our freshmen compare to their sophomores and juniors that they have? And then we go to Clark, which is an NAI team in our conference, and so I try to do that specifically so that our guys, one, know how to travel.
Yeah.
Right, because you're incoming freshman, you've never been on a charter bus, you never stayed in a hotel or overnight at places. Sometimes that's more of a distraction than it is playing the game. So for this year being the development year it is, I wanted our games to be on the road so our guys learned how to travel so that in 2026 we have 6 road games. Our guys will know how to travel by that time. And they will know how to, okay, we're in the visitors' locker room. Here's where the training rooms mostly are. This is how we warm up at other stadiums. So to me, it's all psychological, but if you don't plan for those things, those guys won't be prepared for those opportunities. And so we're trying to, prepare them the best way we can, but also, community service. Like I'm a big fundraiser guy. I love to fundraise. So we have a couple opportunities to do some fundraising this fall. But where we would do our biggest fundraising is in January and February, where we work, security for probably University of Iowa. Got a couple things lined up for basketball and wrestling. A lot of our kids never seen a wrestling match. At University of Iowa, wrestling is top notch. So they will get an opportunity to see the atmosphere of wrestling at University of Iowa and how the basketball games are, and just to be able to see college athletics at that level. Even though they're working security, that's what I like about what they do at Iowa. You work security for an hour and a half, but then you get to watch the rest of the game for the next hour and a half, and then go back out and work security. And you get paid for the whole time, too, so it's even better. So our kids will get a chance to do those things, and for us, it's staying locked in what we're trying to build on campus, because I know there are some worries about, we're adding this new sport to campus, and what does that look like? How does that shape campus? Are there any drawbacks from that? And so we're trying to create an open dialogue with other departments, but also let them know, like, hey, we're here to service Mount Mercy. We want the campus to benefit in all ways from adding football. And so obviously recruiting the right kids, you got to develop the right kids, because you both know a young man coming from wherever, he will act a certain way away from his parents, right? We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
How do we get that young man to lean back on his values that he was taught and still be an upstanding citizen, right? That's our role and goal as coaches, to make sure that these young men come in and they're being who God called them to be and not trying to be somebody they're not. Right, and I tell our guys all the time, it's in our core values, being authentic. And I make this joke lightly, but I always ask our recruits, do you have TikTok? Right, and most of them say, yeah, coach, I got TikTok. Well, you see a lot of TikTok trends, a lot of people doing things on TikTok for likes or for just to make somebody laugh, but it's really not them. I don't want you to pretend to be somebody you're not. I want you to be who God called you to be and wants you to be. That's when you'll be your most successful. When you try to be somebody you're not, people see through that, and you usually fail. So that's what we would preach to our kids, and I've talked to many parents and student athletes about that specifically. But we want to bring that to campus.
Yeah.
right? And I think that will also enhance our football culture as these young men really grasp what we're trying to build. So I think it should keep them locked in for the most part.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah. Man, I wish I was your athlete. That's awesome. Wow.
Good.
So a little bit change of gears here. You don't have to give too much away, but for those who aren't familiar with the game, what style of offense do you think about running, or maybe style of defense?
I would tell you this. I was told this at a young age. Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships, right? So we're going to play a hard-nosed brand of football, okay? And when I mean hard-nosed, we're going to hit anything that moves. No, seriously. And I tell our guys, if the ref gets in your way, you hit him too, right? We want to be aggressive but disciplined on defense. And on offense, we want to score points. We want to put the ball in the air if we're able to, and we want to score a lot of points. Now, on the flip side of that, me having the background that I do, obviously playing and coaching with Coach Mummy, if you give me the running game, I'm going to take advantage of the running game. If you give me the pass, I'm going to take the pass. So I'm going to do what the defense is going to give me, and we're going to capitalize on those. I think we have some tremendous quarterbacks and running backs and receivers that are coming in that will be able to stretch the field, okay? We have to make sure our O-line is healthy.
Yeah.
Right, throughout this year, and obviously we're a little lower on those numbers because everybody wants good O-linemen, right? And when you're talking about, hey, coach, not a lot of young men wanted to not play a full season this year. So one, we had to make sure we got the right kids, and if that only meant we get 8 or 9 offensive linemen, we only get 8 or 9 offensive linemen. And we'll build from there. And so we want to make sure, one, our O-line is healthy so that we can do the things we need to do offensively, but also, two, is just putting a lot of effort on defense. Like, we spent a lot of money on defense from the D-line to the secondary, because if they can't score, you got a good chance.
Yeah.
Right? So like I said, in order to have a good defense, in order to have a good team, you got to have a good defense. And if you look at the Morningsides and the team that just won it in NAI in Grandview, phenomenal defense. I think they finished second in NAI in total defense. So if you want to be good, you better build your defense up, as well as the key pieces you need on offense. And so I don't want to give too much away, but, we'll do what we need to do to win games.
Nice.
Spinning off of that, homecoming weekend in September, what are some things that the fans can look forward to?
Fun. Okay. it will be fun. But we've already kind of been talking to the middle schools and elementary schools here in the Cedar Rapids area, because it's a community first mentality. We want to get them involved in what we're doing here at Mount Mercy, and we've already started working on football signage that we can give to fans and actually have our players sign them at homecoming. But also we have pictures. On August 11th, we'll also do like a little mini photo shoot, and we're going to get a poster made so that as well during homecoming we can pass out posters to fans, and we can have our players sign them on homecoming. And I think that's pretty unique, obviously having the background of playing at some really good premier programs. We may have not been Division I, but we treated it like Division I. So we always had really good media days, and we always got the community involved. And I'm in talks with a couple food trucks to be there. I know we're going to have blow up doll, not dolls, but like bounce houses and those things for the kids to jump in. And, we just wanted to make it a friendly environment, right? And we'll start this year what we call like our bleacher creatures. And that's our elementary kids. We go in, we give them a T-shirt that says Bleacher Creatures on it. They get to run out with the football team. And so anytime that you get them involved, you also bring parents with them as well. They're not going to drop off their 5-year-old to a football game. They're going to come. They might stay for a quarter or two. They get pictures. They get to also push our brand out there as well. And so it's always good to see stuff like that on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
But we want to be in the community. We want to be in the restaurants. And like I told my wife, I said, any chance we go to Buffalo Wild Wings or we go to TikTok, down the street, we give them gear, a T-shirt, or if we got extra helmets. I'm actually sending a helmet to B-Dubs next week so they can put it in the B-Dubs downtown. It's like, we want Mount Mercy to be seen.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about homecoming this year. I'm even more excited for homecoming 2026 and moving forward, for sure.
No, I loved all those ideas. Like, those are some of the things that I feel like this school's going to definitely rely on, and I feel like it can have a big impact. So I appreciate you taking that effort and going through all that.
Yeah, it was, when you have the right mentality and it's community first, school first, a lot of those other things are easier to get accomplished. When it's only all about football, that's when, people start getting a bad vibe about the program and those things. And I'm not like that. I'm a very people person. So we want everybody to be involved in what we're building, because at the end of the day, we're the only scholarship NAIA program in Cedar Rapids. So what better way to get everybody behind you and do it right the first time, so that you're not trying to backtrack year 2 and year 3 and try to recreate something. Nah, do it right first, from the very first beginning.
Awesome. I think it's about that time. We'll wrap up. Coach, thank you so much for your time. This is an awesome interview.
No, I appreciate this. I was jacked. I was telling my wife, I said, I'm going to be on podcasts. I'm going to be on a little video. And she was like, just make sure you don't say anything crazy. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything crazy. She's like, don't tell too much about the offense. And I was like, I'm not. So, but no, it was really good. I appreciate both you guys for allowing me to talk about Mount Mercy football. August 23rd, August 23rd, we have our first scrimmage against Grinnell. It's on a Saturday morning. So if you're not doing anything on Saturday morning, which most of y'all aren't, come check us out, Most of our practice will be from 9 in the morning to 11 in the afternoon. Come on out. We have an open door policy. Any parents, any students want to come watch us practice, it's open to the public. And anything we can do from a football standpoint, you just let us know, and we'll try to be of service to the community as well.